This is episode 13 of the Millennial Mover Series podcast.
Is it time for you to make a big move in your life? Mommy and Daddy forcing you to get out in the real world? What they really want you to do is turn your speakers up because you're listening to the Millennial Mover Series podcast, hosted by Dallas celebrity real estate agent Chastin J. Miles.
Each week, I'm bringing you the best advice, tools, and expert knowledge to help you move up in the world and build financial freedom through real estate.
So make Mommy and Daddy proud and turn your speakers up because it's time for you to join the Millennial Movement.
What's up, everyone? It is me again, Chastin J. Miles, your host for the evening and for the podcast and for every time you listen to me. And I'm here again. We got another great episode. We are on episode 13 where we are talking about investments and investing in real estate with more of a concentration on wholesaling. So I know a lot of y'all have asked for this episode, and it's finally here. So I'm glad that you're listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead, push the subscribe button on your phone right now. Don't wait another minute. And I want to point out, thank you so much for everyone who's been sending in reviews. And I know that I asked in the last episode to write a couple of reviews on the show, or I asked everybody to review, and some of you have, and I'm so excited about that, and I really appreciate that. And so if you like what I'm putting out here, if you like the content, if you really enjoy the show, please subscribe and leave a review. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to get to the top of iTunes, and I can only do that if you all help me out. So I really need your reviews. And hopefully this is a 5-star show for you because you've been listening every week. So keep them coming. Keep it coming in. I love your questions. I respond back to every one of y'all's questions on every social network that you hit me up on. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for doing that, and stay engaged and stay tuned to everything. It's been a pretty great market out here in the real estate market, and I'm super busy, but I always like to take time out to make sure that I stay doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's making sure that you are well informed and educated, especially at this point in our lives when, things are coming at us and from all different directions. We have to make sure that we're getting the right information and in the language that we can understand it. Like, don't you hate when people just talk so super technical to you and like you have to go look words up? Well, maybe y'all don't have to do that, but I have to do that sometimes. And I'm just like, what does that mean at the end of the day? Just say what it means. And okay, you could have said that. So that's how I feel. And that's how I feel about this show. And that's why I love doing what I do. And I like being that resource for millennials across the country. All right. So that's enough blabbing about all that kind of stuff. But, I got to get it out sometimes. And so for this episode, we're talking about investing, and I'm super excited because I have just like the most amazing co-star for this show. Co-host, co-star, whatever you want to call him. He's freaking awesome. I have Carl Dean. He is like a celebrity real estate investor. He's actually the COO of American Real Estate Investments, and he's super phenomenal. I look up to this man, and I see everything that he's doing. He's super active on social media, and he's here on this show, and he's here. He's gonna like tell us everything that we want to hear. So I'm gonna let him like give you the full on story about him. But Carl, you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh my gosh, welcome to the Millennial Mover Series podcast. You're
Thanks,
on.
man. Thanks, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for all the nice comments. I definitely appreciate that. And I'm a huge fan of yours as well. You were one of the first agents I spotted when I moved down here to Dallas Fort Worth, and I seen you were doing your thing, man. So I definitely hats off to you there. So I definitely appreciate those nice things.
Yeah, of course. And, I have to give honor where honor's due. Carl, how about you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got started, all that good stuff.
Okay, so, my name's Carl Dean. I am 31 years old. I've been in this business for as long as I can remember. I started just getting out of high school with, construction background. I was working with my stepfather. They were working for guys who were flipping houses. So I had an extensive construction background by the time I was in my, early 20s, started a construction company, and was, doing a lot of flips for investors, working on a lot of different projects. And I decided to quit the construction aspect of it and go work for a real estate company and try to get my love for real estate as something that could make me some money. So I did that while I was going to college for business and marketing. I got a real estate license, and shortly after got a broker's license. And it's the sky's the limit, right? Like, it's just, I'm one of those guys who, I work hard, I work fast, I work long, and I just always want to get to the next level, and I always want to kind of, stay in the race. So in Michigan, I was doing a lot of wholesaling, and ended up doing some wholesaling to a large fund. Got a good relationship kind of developed with them, and I started actually wholesaling them houses across the United States in several different markets without ever visiting those markets. Actually doing it all from Detroit, where I was stationed at the time. And and from there, I kind of got, I guess you could say, recognized by somebody who was a veteran in the market and had a lot of capital backing. And, the two of us plugged our heads in together and decided to kind of do a new facelift on American Real Estate Investments and take the company into a different direction with a little higher class assets. And since then, it's been awesome. We've been growing a lot. We've hired a lot of new people on staff. Office keeps getting bigger every year, and so things are good.
Like y'all. Okay, so that was like the real cool stuff, and I love all that stuff. But y'all, Carl is like, I'm talking like Fox Business News, magazines, traveling the world, speaking all over the place. Show to his own podcast, and like, Carl, for those people who are like listening to you on social media, so they can just put a face with the voice that you're speaking.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find on social media. I think either Instagram or Facebook, it would be just Carl Dean. My Instagram is actually Carl.Dean. We have a Facebook also for the company, which is American Real Estate Investments. So we love social media followers, that's for sure. But I don't think I'm that hard to find online nowadays, I guess, and I'm fortunate to be able to say that.
Right. No, nowadays you can't hide anything from anybody, but no matter who you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all, he's a big deal, and I just wish you can see like the biggest smile on my face just out of excitement right now, because it's really happening. So about to get into pretty much everything investment when it comes to like wholesaling. So stay tuned in. We will be right back, and then we're going to get into it. So stay tuned. So you've been listening, and now you think you're ready. You're ready to buy your first home. Now is the time for you to make that investment. But are you sure you're ready? Are all of your questions answered? Before you go diving right in, I have something for you. It's a free course, and it's titled Help, I Want to Buy a House. It's available on my website at ChastinJMiles.com. It's free for you to go and get it right now. This 6-part video series answers all the questions you want to know. Everything, including the home buying process, the mortgage process, and I even talk about down payment assistance programs. To enroll in my course, Help, I Want to Buy a House, just visit my website at ChastinJMiles.com. Again, that's ChastinJMiles.com. All right, we are back on the Millennial Mover Series podcast, and I am here with our amazing celebrity guest, Mr. Carl Dean. Carl, still there?
Thank you for having me, sir. I'm still here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into the whole, real estate and investing and wholesaling, and let's just start like real basic. Mm-hmm. What is wholesaling?
Wholesaling is basically, making money in real estate without having any money, right? Like it's finding good properties. Well, first I should say you start with the buyer, right? You got to find buyers who are purchasing a specific type of product in a market. And then you got to go out and find people who are producing that product and just kind of work your way in the middle, right? Like you find a buyer, you can use different sites and different platforms for this, or you can go off and just kind of network with people. But the first thing you always have to do is find a buyer. And then once you have that criteria, you just go out and just pound pavement and just try to find a supplier that's kind of producing a similar product. And once that's the case, you just kind of, you can put it under contract. You can do an assignment fee to where basically you own the contract and you could sell the contract to another investor or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's how you basically can get into real estate and earn some good capital without having a lot of money invested.
Right. Okay. So wholesaling is, so to me, when I think of wholesaling, it's pretty much like you're the middleman, for a property purchase and then a property sale on the other end, right? Or is that just real basic?
Yeah, correct. Like a good example of this that I just to put it in the simplest terms I could, like say your aunt wanted to sell her house, right? And you have, a little bit of experience or maybe know some investors, and let's just say it's in Dallas, right? Anything in Dallas right now is worth looking at, like it could potentially be a deal. So your aunt's getting ready to sell her house. You say, hey, give me 2 weeks to try to sell this thing on the investor market and see if I can, come up with a deal. So your aunt says, yeah, I'll give you 2 weeks. So you sign a contract with your aunt that gives you 2 weeks exclusive to try to sell this property, right? So I have this house my aunt wants to sell, locked up for $150,000, right? And I know that the house could probably rent for $1,600. So considering that, I know I can probably sell it for, just under 100 times the rent. So I could probably sell that property for $165,000, right? That being the case, what I would do is lock it up, under contract, take good pictures of it, put it all in a spreadsheet with the Truly a Crime link and everything, make it pretty and easy for a person to understand it. Add a little Dropbox link with the pictures, send it over to some investors that I know. Hey guys, I know you're purchasing in this area. Here's a deal for $150. I think it'll rent for about $1,600. Needs maybe $5K in cosmetic work. I was wondering if you're interested in the deal. And, I'll do that to 10 or 15 investors. And chances are one of them are going to come back and say, yeah, it looks like it works for me. And so I would then get a contract from them. And I would just basically sign my contract over to them and take the difference in the sale price.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense to me. And if y'all have any questions, specific questions about this, definitely reach out to me on Twitter, and you can ask those questions, and we'll be sure to get them answered. So just thinking about investing, because when I think of somebody telling me that they're an investor, I just automatically, before I got into real estate, I just kind of automatically assumed that they were somebody who were going to purchase a home, fixing it up, and then selling it. But as I've been educated, that's more on the flipping side of investment. So, the difference in wholesaling and flipping, is that pretty much it? Flippers are
yeah. Obviously, when you're flipping houses, you got a lot of things at stake, right? It's your money at stake. It's your time frame. You're obviously paying the note for something like that. So when you buy a house, you renovate it, and then you go to sell forward on the retail market, in the MLS to a first time home buyer, whatever the case may be. All your skin is in the game. Your name is on the line, and you're on a tight budget and a time frame. With wholesaling, it's a lot easier because it's just you're just basically doing all the legwork. You're just finding good deals and putting them in front of serious investors. So there's definitely a big difference there as far as the liability and everything that as far as carrying any costs. But I've been in the wholesaling business my entire life, and I've done 6, 7, maybe 800 wholesale deals nationwide. And very, very fast for some time. When I was feeding this one particular fund, these guys were buying 30 to 40 homes from me every single month. And I was just the in-between guy, right? I had built up a network of people who were providing rental properties, selling them on Craigslist or wherever the case may be. And I would say, hey, I got this fund in town. This is what they want to buy. Make it look like X, Y, and Z. And, we can sell them, continuously. And so I built up that kind of network where it was just kind of, I was the guy in the middle. I was papered up very strong on both sides. I was negotiating a deal on both sides with the buyer and the seller. The buyer comes back and says, I can only pay $70,000 for this one. I know you're asking 75, but I can only do 70. So then I would go back to the seller and say, hey, I can only do 60 on this one. I know we said 65, but my buyer is saying he needs 5K off, so I then need 5K off as well. And every now and then you try to make a deal work so it doesn't fall through and doesn't waste your time. So if I have to wiggle $1,000 or $2,000, it's not a big deal. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into the wholesaling aspect, but it's definitely different from flipping.
Right.
I'd say the biggest difference is obviously you have no cash, and I'm not for the record, we do some flips. I've done some. I do this like little TV thing where I kind of give people updates on some flips I'm doing here in Dallas, but that's not my primary business, nor has it ever been. I've always done retail flips on the side, but my primary business has always been dealing with investors, because investors know exactly what they want. They don't care about the color of the paint or the small details that the mom and pops are going to care about. So it's a much easier, streamlined system to set up and scale, right? So when I find serious investors that are buying a product, I know that if I can just produce that product consistently, no matter where I get it from or who I get it from, then they're going to buy it from me, right? And it's a lot less, dealing with clients and dealing with the ups and downs of a person's decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much sounds like the end result is already laid out for you. You just got to fill in the middle pieces, and that's super awesome. So I am stuck on you saying 800 deals, and so like I'm just seeing dollar signs all over the place. Like, how much money can you make from wholesaling?
It depends. I mean, for when I was wholesaling, most of the assets I was wholesaling were being sold anywhere from $35,000 to $75,000, and we would make anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000, right? And we would have costs here and there, right? But I think on average for that price point, it would be under 10 grand would be the average, somewhere around 7 grand, 5 grand to 7 grand. But I mean, there's guys that I know that will find properties in California and make 500 grand, right? That you can find just a good deal. You never know. You might come across a guy who says, yeah, I'm looking to sell my house. I don't really want to deal with a real estate agent, have to pay commissions. It's $1 million, $2 million listing, whatever the case may be. And you just say, hey, I'm an agent, but I don't need to do this through my brokerage. Let me just lock this thing up under contract and put it in front of some of my investors, right? Like, you run the numbers from an investment standpoint, not from the standpoint of selling to a retail buyer, but you run it from the investment standpoint, which is going to be a little bit different. And you might have an investor come back and buy that house, and say it's a $4 million house. You might have put 500 grand on there because the guy didn't know what he had, or whatever the case may be. But you can make a lot of money, right? Like, it's all about who in timing.
You're right. I mean, but like any business though that you can make a lot of money, I'm pretty sure it's a good amount of work involved. And it sounds easy to me, and I've heard of it before, and I've done my research, and I've worked with some wholesalers, me being a retail real estate agent, whatever you want to call it. But it's nothing that I felt like I wanted to get into, because I know that there's something behind the doors, or like behind the scenes that I don't necessarily know about. So in your opinions, or like just from your experience, what's been the hardest part about wholesaling?
The hardest part about wholesaling, other than having to negotiate both sides of the deal, right? The hardest part I would say is staying in the deal, because there's a lot of wholesalers. Like, there's guys like I'm not going to mention names. I won't. But there's certain groups that are established groups that are nothing but large wholesalers, right? They find deals, they lock them up under contract, they put 15 grand on top of them, and they sell forward to other investors. I don't really do a lot of deals with those guys just because they don't really make a lot of sense. So I think a lot of them just got too much on the pie. But the hardest part is definitely not getting cut out, because me as a serious investor, if I'm going to buy properties and someone's trying to wholesale them to me, I'll be honest with you, the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, where are you getting them from, right? Because if I could pay a cheaper price, then I'm going to definitely try to approach that person and buy those homes cheaper. So it's very important to make sure that you're papered up very strong, and just not getting cut out, right? Anybody who's a veteran in this business that's doing 200-300 assets, especially turnkey rental homes, they're always trying to get to the source, right? Nobody wants to deal with a middleman when it comes to investment properties, because they're always just going to have an additional expense on top of the asset.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I even experienced that in just residential sales. Everybody, I mean, if they can get it cheaper, and even if it's just saving like $100, there's no telling what people will do to, cut somebody out of a deal that they have to pay.
Yeah. And not a lot of people in the industry, right? And I don't mean this to demean anybody, because like I said, I made a lot of money wholesaling, but there's a lot of people in the industry, like the high level institution guys, where they seem to like not have a lot of respect for wholesalers, right? Like, you guys just go and find these deals and get to make all this money, and the guy selling it's taking a hit, and the guy buying it's overpaying, whatever the case may be. But that's definitely a common thing, right?
Yeah, Yeah, and it's probably common in pretty much every
Oh yeah.
industry or every sales industry at least. Something I thought about as I was driving over here. I was listening to the radio and I heard one of those ads. I forgot whose name it was, but I think it was some celebrity realtor or investor. Come into Dallas this seminar and learn how to flip houses.
Merrill, yeah.
Yeah. Learn how to invest in wholesale. How do you feel about like investment seminars and those types of things?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm very familiar with Fan, Merrill, and Fortune Builders. They're actually clients of ours. And so they have a great product. They have a great system, and it's a great education. I tell you, I would much rather spend money on learning what they're willing to offer versus going back to college. If I could do it all over again, I think that what they teach you about real estate investing is far more valuable in your life than a lot of the things I learned in college. But, I mean, aside from just Fortune Builders, there's a lot of events that I find value in. But I'm a networker, right? Like I go to these events and I'm not just looking for sales. I'm looking for people who I can maybe joint venture with, or people who I can, do this with or that with. I'm always trying to network. And the networking alone at these things, you're meeting other people who are interested in investing or currently investing, whatever the case may be. And the networking alone seems to me like it's worth it. And a lot of times you can learn a lot. I don't think I've ever gone to an investment seminar where I came back empty-handed or was like, I wish I didn't go to that, right? Like I've always met at least one person. I take that back. There was one seminar that was down in Houston that I went to that was just a bunch of phony bull. Yeah, you're gonna call it. And the reason is because some of these guys are so damn greedy, right? It's all about the money to them. They're always about like, hey, who can we get to buy a booth here and buy a booth here? And then they stuff everybody in a hallway. And it's like, wow, you get there and you're like, wow, I didn't know this was in a hallway. I would have brought my bowling ball so we could hang out in between sessions. So there's some guys who are pitching a dream and selling a dream, and those are the smaller fly-by-night companies. But if you really look at some of these guys like the Fortune Builders, they put out a good event, right? There's a lot of money invested into it for the students, right? There's a lot of benefit for the students, and that's a product that I really genuinely believe in because they teach these investors or these beginning investors a lot of things that are very valuable, and their network is insanely important, and it's very, very good network.
Yeah, and another thing that I noticed about them is most of them for these seminars or for these kind of trainings, like they'll offer them for free or real low cost. And I know when like people hear free and they're like, "What? I'm going to learn all this and I don't have to pay anything." And so it tends to put people feeling uneasy or red flags. But I've even been to a few myself and I've definitely learned some stuff, but, so, I mean, someone looking to get into investing, you would recommend that they check them out.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think it's a waste of time. Listen, anytime you have somebody who's credible, who's built a massive, massive business, doing what they're doing, and they're having a seminar similar to, Fan and Fortune Builders, it's worth checking out, right? If it's free, then why would you not? You're going to learn something for sure. You're going to meet other investors for sure. Why would you not attend a free seminar? But just keep in mind that their ultimate goal is to prove their worth in those 3 days and get you to sign up. And there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? That's not a bad thing. I think that it's valuable and it helps a lot of people. It might not be for everybody, but why not take advantage of a free seminar?
Exactly. I mean, you're most likely going to walk out of there knowing something that you didn't before. So
absolutely. Or someone, right?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. So like, what's the best advice you can give to someone who's looking to get into investing?
It depends on what level they're trying to get into investing. If they're trying to get into like fix and flip, or turnkey, whatever the case may be, the best advice I would give them is just deal with credible people who have experience. Don't go find a guy on Craigslist or go deal with a fly-by-night company who's promising you the world. And my number one thing is if you're dealing with an investment property and you're looking for, at it as a flip or as something to hold for a rental purpose, make sure that the person you're dealing with, whether it be an agent or broker or whoever, has some serious and real experience investing in real estate, right? They have some rental properties or they've done some flips. Don't go in and just take somebody's word for anything. Utilize sites like Bigger Pockets and podcasts and all these different things that you have at your fingertips, and really just try to do your due diligence, because I've seen far too many people fall for the high yielding properties that are just garbage and end up biting them in the rear. So it's unfortunate. I definitely would say just deal with people who are credible and have a proven track record of winning at whatever you're doing.
Right. Yeah. And I really like the fact that you said that, because there are so many people out there. I even see them on, Instagram, and like I see a lot of advertisements for a lot of things. And there's a lot of stuff in this segment. In the real estate segment in general, there's a lot of information out there that you could get for free. Not everybody's going to tell you everything, but just kind of, look up stuff, look up names, look and see how much work people have done, and if they're truly legit before you give money to a random person on Instagram type of deal.
Yeah. And always in every case, always be very, very cautious when someone's asking you for hard money up front, meaning, hey, I have this property, but I need $5,000 tomorrow and it's non-refundable, right? Don't get yourself in a position where they're inflating the value or giving you the best case scenario. And so you go and put the $5,000 in and then later realize it's non-refundable and the deal didn't make sense or something fell through at inspection. Just be very, very weary about putting hard money down to start. Because usually if someone's asking you for hard money, that means they're under the gun to sell it, and they're usually wholesaling it. And so they're not even the direct owner. So maybe just keep an eye on it, but just never be pressured into doing hard money up front.
Y'all hear that? Oh man, thank you for saying that. My mind is running all over the place. Dude, you got me over here so jacked and excited. Like I get super excited talking about stuff like this, if y'all can't tell by now, but I hope you're getting value out of this. I want to kind of switch it up a little bit. Carl, like who do you look up to just as a person?
Oh man, I'm a huge fan of Mark Cuban. I like what he stands for. I like his message to the younger millennial crowd. I like that he's very, involved in a lot of things where he helps the community and donates money to, Dallas Police Department after tragedies and things of the sort. I just think that he's a good, well-rounded person. And it's too bad that we have a country whose presidential election has become somewhat of a People's Magazine, front cover story. Because there's guys like him that would do a good job, but it's unfortunate that he doesn't want to take on the title because it just becomes such a laughing stock. But definitely Mark Cuban, I look up to him quite a bit.
Yeah, I really like Mark Cuban, and he's definitely one of those good ones. Oh man, that's so awesome. What's your favorite book these days?
I read a lot of books. I would say currently my favorite book, I would have to say it would either be Good to Great by Jim Collins, where they talk about the hedgehog concept, right? Sticking with what you're best at instead of trying to spread yourself too thin in too many different areas. I really appreciate the message in that book. And then also there's another one called, what is it called? From Zero to One. It's by one of the founders of PayPal, Peter. I think his last name is Thief or something like that. But that was a really good book, and it just talks about thinking outside the box. It was a really inspiring book to read.
Nice. Yeah. And for those of y'all that may be listening to this while you're driving or can't write right now, I'll put the links to these books on my website so you can go and get those. They'll be right on this podcast page, so it'll be easy to find. Carl, something that I pointed out, or I'm not asking you too many questions, am I? I'm just so excited. Okay. Carl, so we're actually friends on Facebook, and I see some of the posts that you put out there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this man is in this country. He's over here. Like, I want to go there. Like, out of all these places that you visited lately, or just like in your life, what's been your most favorite place?
I really love Belize, man. I go down there quite a bit. I invest myself down there. It's not only, in my eyes, a good investment opportunity, but, it's a place where you have the ocean, you have the barrier reef, you have, first best fly fishing place in the entire world, they say. You have the mountains, you have the monkeys, you have the ocean, you have everything, right? There's everything in that little area, the Mayan ruins. It offers so much, right? Because I'm a huge nature guy. I love to hike. I love to rock climb. I love to do all kinds of just random things. And so that's always been one place that I just love to visit because I never run out of things to do, right? I can go hike through the mountains and find a waterfall. I can go see some monkeys. I can go, deep sea fishing. There's just so many things I can do. And, the cost of living is good. And it's also English speaking country, which makes it easy for a lot of things. And so, yeah, I definitely would have to say Belize would be my number one place that I love to visit.
Yeah, I've never been to Belize, but I
Well,
have a
I'll have to
friend.
take you down there. If you got some clients interested in vacation properties, I'll definitely take you down there on the house, and we'll let you check it out. It's a pretty cool experience down there.
Well, you know how I am. I'll go out and find the client just to go on a trip. That is
Not a bad idea.
That is so good. Yeah. Okay. I have to add that to my to-do list now. Okay. I'm gonna ask you one last question, and this is just like for like my pure entertainment, but hopefully everyone else will enjoy this. If there was any celebrity that you could just spend a day with, who would that be?
Oof. The top of my head, the first name that comes to mind would be Gary Vaynerchuk. I just think that he and I have a lot of things in common. We're very straightforward kind of guys, and he's just a hustler. He's a grinder. I would love to just pick his brain and hang out with him for the day. I think he's motivating for me.
Yeah. I love that guy. I want to get him on this show.
I'm trying to book him for an event. He's quite pricey. You got to let him know quite a few months out. But he's definitely one on the radar for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Oh gosh, we have so much in common, including want to go to Belize again.
I'll take you out there.
Yeah. Well, I know we've been sitting here talking a lot, and gosh, you have given some awesome information, man. Y'all, Carl Dean, thank you so much for being on this show. You have provided some definite informative information that I know is going to help a lot of people. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll be happy to follow up with an email and just send you some more links to some things that could be helpful for some of your audience.
Yeah. And I'll post those on the website, ChastinJMiles.com. Carl, one more time, where can everyone find you at on social media?
Okay, so on social media, if it's Twitter, it's growth_junkie. That's just kind of who I am.
Love it.
Other than that, it's just Carl Dean, CarlDean, or we have an American Real Estate Investments Facebook and pretty much every social media account there is. So yeah, definitely those. And then I have a podcast myself. It's called Get Behind the Desk with Carl Dean. It's on iTunes and all that funny stuff. So it's just something new that I'm doing. It's just to talk into a microphone, right?
Yeah. Y'all, so definitely go and check that out. Well, that concludes this episode of the Millennial Mover Series podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host here, Chastin J. Miles. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you have any questions for me or Carl, visit my website, ChastinJMiles.com, and you could send us your questions there, and we'll be happy to answer them. All right, Carl, you have an amazing rest of your day, and everyone be productive out there, and I will talk to y'all next week.